Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss some miscellaneous item of Java. So we'll be discussing access modifiers, garbage collection, final, super, and static keyword. Let's start. What is access modifiers? So in Java, we can have four different type of access modifiers. One is called default, and others are private, protected, and public. So what's the scope of access modifier? So for default, the scope is limited to package only. For private, it is limited to the class only. For protected, it is limited to the package and subclass. And for public, we can access from anywhere. Let me show you guys a quick demonstration of access modifier. How we can use access modifier in Java program. So here you see I have created a class called access modifier. This class is actually extending a class called addition. If we go inside this addition class, here you can see we have a method named add two numbers, and it is actually returning the result of that two number. And we didn't define anything like private, protected, public here when we are defining this method here. So that's why the scope of this method is default. So when we'll be running this program, let's see what is the result we are getting. So here you see we are getting the result as 33, and both of this class is inside the same package, which is called miscellaneous package here. And if we put, let's say, private, if we save this program, then here you see it will be showing an error, and the message is change visibility of add two numbers method to protected. Because when we'll be using private, then the scope of this method will be available within this class. But if we remove this private, then the scope of this method is called default, and we know when it is default, then this method will be available within the package. As both of this class is inside the same package, that's why it is not showing any error. Now let's discuss garbage collection. So what is garbage collection? This is a process of removing unused object from heap memory. And how do we know like how Java is performing garbage collection? So there are few different ways we can identify. So when the object is no longer reachable, so you can see the code over here, then we can consider that object is ready for garbage collection. Another example would be when one reference is copied to another reference. So what we are looking here, so if we are assigning one reference value variable to another one, then the other one will be ready for garbage collection. So let me show you another example here. So here you see I have another class created called GC, and in this class we are using an object, creating an object called A, and another object is B, and then we are assigning A to B. So if we run garbage collection by using system.gc method, then this object A will be garbage collected. So if we run this method, if we run this class, then here you see it is actually executing this finalize method. So this finalize method will be executing right before doing the garbage collection of the object. So let's say if we have multiple objects in this class, and if we run this class, then like multiple messages will be showing here from the finalize method. Now let's discuss final keyword. So we can use final keyword with variable, method, and class. So when we'll be using final keyword with variables, that means that variable is a constant. But when we'll be using this final keyword with some method, that method cannot be overridden. And when a class is final, that means we cannot extend a final class. Let me show you another example here. So here you see I have created two classes called ABC and XYZ. So what is inside xyz there is a final method, and this is the implementation of that method, right? And then here you see abc class is actually extending xyz class, and if we run this program, let's see what is the output we are getting. So xyz class method, from where we are getting this, we are actually getting it from this parent class. But let's say if we uncomment this and if we try to run it, we will not be able to run it, and it will be complaining about some error. It is saying remove final modifier of xyz. So if we remove this from here, then there will be no error. But if we use here final, that means we can't override that method over here. Okay. Now let's discuss super keyword. So what are the use of super keyword? To access the data members of parent class when both parent and child class have member with same name, then we can use super keyword. Then another use of super keyword, to explicitly call the no argument and parameterized constructor of parent class. Also to access the method of parent class when child class has overridden that method, then we can use super keyword. Let's see some examples here. So here you see we have two more class called subclass test and superclass. Right, here you see this is a superclass. We are assigning a value into integer variable called number. The value is 100. And what this subclass test is doing, so the subclass test is actually extending superclass, and we have a variable, same name variable called number. Here the value is 110, but what it is actually printing, so when we are calling this print number method, it is actually trying to access the variable from its parent class. So that's why if we put super.num, it is actually getting the value from this class, because this is the parent class of this subclass test, right? So if we run this program, let's see what we are getting here as the result, right? We are running this program here. So I think it is pointing some other class, so let me point, what is the name of this class? Subclass test, right? So let me run it here. Subclass test, I can't find anything here, so let me configure it here. So if I look for subclass test, choose it, apply and run. So here you go. So here you can see this is what we are displaying here. Rather displaying 110, we are actually displaying 100. Okay. Now let's discuss static keyword. So when we can use static keyword. Static members belong to the class instead of a static specific instance. That means if you make a member static, you can access it without any object. So another example here for static class. So here you see this is the class that I created. The name of this class is called static class. We have two items here. One is integer num, another one is string my string. Okay, so what it actually doing, so under this class we have two static block and we have a main method where we are actually printing that value. So let me run this program. So here you see what it is doing. So we have static block 1 and static block 2, and we have a number called 68 and 98, right? So what it is actually doing, so when we declared this variable initially, we didn't assign any values, right? So in static block 1, the value of num is 68 and my string value is block 1. But what we are doing here in static block 2, so we are actually trying to print static block 2 over here. This is exactly what we are printing. Then we are assigning 98 to number, and we are actually assigning block 2 into this my string variable. Initially it was 68 block 1, now it is 98 block 2. So when we are running this class from the main method, then it is actually printing the values from static block 2. The reason is that when we'll be defining any variables as static, then if we change in one place of that specific value, then it will be reflected in all other places where it is being used. So that's why we are getting the result like this. So let's summarize what we discussed in this lesson. So in this lesson, we discuss access modifiers, garbage collection, final, super, and static keyword, and I also demonstrated how we can use all of these using some Java program. I hope that was helpful for all of you. Thank you so much.